This is the In Focus podcast from The Hindu.
Hello and welcome to the Hindus in Focus podcast. I'm Zubeda Hamid, your host for today. Last month, OpenAI, the company that developed ChatGPT, made an important change to its popular app. ChatGPT will now avoid offering specific advice on personal issues, and it will also prompt users to take breaks in cases of lengthy conversations. These changes were brought in after the company admitted that ChatGPT fell short of recognizing signs of emotional dependency or delusions. An increasing number of people across the world are beginning to turn to ChatGPT and other AI chatbots for mental health help. And an increasing number of professionals are seeing cases of users whose mental health has been badly affected after the use of chatbots. What is going on with chatbots and the world of mental health? Is it safe to turn to ChatGPT for therapy? What are the risks involved with excessive use or personal disclosures on chatbots? And how can people use chatbots safely in a world where they're increasingly becoming tools for daily use? We dive into these questions and more with Dr. Soumitra Pathare, Director of the Center for Mental Health Law and Policy, Pune. Hello and welcome to the Hindus in Focus podcast, Dr. Soumitra Pathare.
Hi, thank you so much for asking me to join this podcast.
Doctor, over the course of the past year or so, an increasing number of people, especially young people, have begun to turn to ChatGPT and other AI chatbots for mental health support. Are mental health professionals seeing this trend, and what does it imply?
If you look at the data, then clearly there is a trend. Whether individual practitioners are seeing it or not, what we do know is that the usage of all forms of chatbots, AI chatbots and some proprietary chatbots is increasing. That's something that we've noticed over the last many years now. The trend started just with using Google to kind of diagnose your problem or what might be appropriate treatments for it, and has now moved on to chatbots as a form of therapy or counseling, as you would call it.
Why do you think this is happening, Doctor? Could you talk to us a little bit about why young people feel the need to turn to something like this as therapy? Is it because of the shortage of psychiatrists and mental health professionals in India? We know that India has less than one psychiatrist per 100,000 population, far lower than the World Health Organization recommended 3 per 100,000.
I don't know whether it's just the shortage which is an issue, because by definition, if you look at large cities like Mumbai or Delhi or even Bangalore, there is no shortage. You know, these cities, if you look at the population ratios for psychiatrists, are actually have a significant number of mental health professionals, almost approaching or even greater than what might be the WHO recommended levels. And those are the cities where you maximum see this kind of usage of AI. So I don't think it's just the shortage which is driving it. Because if it was so, then you would expect people in the rural areas where there's absolutely no psychiatrists to be turning to AI chatbots. I think it's much more than that. I think it's not just the shortage issue. It's an access issue. It's easy. You don't have to go to a clinic. You don't have to take a day off. You can do it in your own time. So I think it just increases access. And the second thing, which in the context of India is an issue, is the cost. You know, therapy is expensive, or going to a doctor or psychiatrist is expensive. And AI offers it to you reasonably free in the comfort of your room. And the third important issue is confidentiality, which is paradoxical, because people feel that, you know, if they talk to an AI chatbot, it's confidential, although we know that it's not necessarily so. So, you know, the whole stigma of going to a doctor's clinic or going to a psychologist for therapy, that is avoided when you're doing it in the privacy of your bedroom. So I think that's really what is driving it, much more than just the availability of mental health professionals.
Talk to us about what happens when people increasingly rely on chatbots for mental health support. Are there risks involved in seeking support from AI? AI-induced psychosis is a term that's being thrown around increasingly in the West. Is that a real phenomenon?
Well, in terms of risks, I don't know if you're aware of, but at least three states in the United States, Ohio, Utah, and I think Illinois recently, have banned the use of AI in mental health therapy. So clearly, there are risks involved, sufficient for governments to take action and to actually not allow AI therapy to be available or made available. So what are the risks? Well, there are plenty of risks. First is obviously the whole confidentiality risk. Okay, we don't know whether your data is going to be confidential. There have been instances in the past where people's personal details have got leaked from not necessarily from an AI, but from apps which were used for mental health therapy. So that's one big risk. The second risk, I think, is that AI is not a human being, and very often the kind of empathy that you expect out of a therapist or a human being is lacking. There have been instances, for example, where people have mentioned, say, suicidal ideas to an AI chatbot, and the AI chatbot has actually agreed with them, and not only agreed with them, then even offered them various means of doing it. So clearly, those risks exist largely because the AI is driven towards engagement, and engagement means you try to kind of agree with the person who's asking questions just so that they stay engaged. So the AI is not going to question some assumptions, is not going to actually get you to be thinking in another way. So it can become a bit of an echo chamber for yourself, and that's not necessarily good for anybody. There have also been instances of people self-harming. The AI psychosis that you mentioned, many psychiatrists, not necessarily from India but from other countries, are beginning to report those kind of phenomena happening. So there's a whole host of risks that are involved in using AI as a tool for therapy.
You said that it sometimes functions as an echo chamber. Could you elaborate on that? So basically, what it does is mirror your thoughts rather than challenge them?
That's right. The whole idea of AI is user engagement, and the lowest way of the simplest way of user engagement is to agree with the user, and AI is known to do that. There are instances, for example, where somebody has said to say a chatbot saying that you know I've been really disturbed. I'm feeling like I don't want to live anymore. What is the highest building nearby from where I could actually do something like this? And the AI is very happily supplied the details of which might be the highest building in the neighborhood. So that kind of stuff. Now, a therapist would never have done that. The therapist would have got into saying, "Why are you feeling so? What can we do about it?" And then offered some help around those suicidal ideas. The second issue of it being an echo chamber is that, when people say my life is really miserable and it's bad, AI will say, yes, it is really bad. Agreeing with you rather than actually challenging you or questioning your assumptions, which is what therapy is supposed to do, to get you to reformulate your situation and your problem, and the AI is unlikely to do it. In most instances, the only thing that the AI probably does is listens to you uncritically. Now, that's not necessarily a good thing if you're talking about therapy or counseling.
Talk to us a little bit about delusions. Again, does this echo chamber part, can it fuel delusions? Can it make people can it make people believe something that is not accurate or true?
It may not be able to make you believe what is not accurate or true, but if you have some delusions or if you have some ideas which are not accurate or true, the AI is unlikely to get you to question those ideas. In fact, the AI is more likely to agree with you and make those delusions or make that situation worse.
You said that in most cases, what it does offer is an uncritical ear to listen. Do you think that this is symptomatic of a larger problem of loneliness, something that psychiatrists are beginning to say is an epidemic worldwide?
It is. Yeah, I think that increasingly, at least in urban spaces in India, and the situation in India versus the rest of the world can be very different. But at least in urban spaces in India, and especially in the highly educated, uh, English majority, English speaking, well off part of India, which might be a small percentage of the total population, but in absolute numbers can be significantly large. In that particular section, yes, loneliness is probably a big issue. The second is that, mobility for work, for example, has also meant that people are disrupted or disconnected from their social networks, and that again fuels some degree of a sense of loneliness. And so, yeah, the AI offers you that stuff which, in on normal circumstances, would have just been one of your friends, for example, or someone you work with, who probably would have listened to you and heard you out. And for many people, that does not exist anymore. Urban living in India increasingly means that frequently people may not even know who their neighbor is. And that again fuels a sense of loneliness and isolation.
Talk to us a little bit about vulnerabilities. Is anybody who uses AI in this manner vulnerable? Is it specifically young people more vulnerable to this sort of thing? Is there somebody who's already feeling depressed or low or anxious more at risk?
I mean, who is going to go to an AI chatbot for therapy? Obviously, somebody who has, in some way, a difficult situation. So, by definition, almost everybody who approaches an AI for therapy is vulnerable at some level or the other. Some of them might be little vulnerable, others might be significantly vulnerable. And so vulnerability lies on a spectrum. It's not like a on off switch where that is some people are vulnerable and some are not. I think the real answer is that everyone's vulnerable. Some are more vulnerable and some are less vulnerable. And so that's how I would characterize it. AI is probably useful if you're just looking for information. If you're looking for information quickly, and summarized for you in a bite-sized way, then yes, that might be useful. Having said that, we know that a lot of these AI programs are known to also hallucinate. So they're likely to give you information which is just completely made up too. So there are a lot of challenges to using AI. In fact, uh, unless there is a pressing need why you have to use AI and cannot go and speak to a friend or cannot go and speak to coworker or someone in your circle, or you cannot even go to see a counselor. There's no real reason why people should be turning to AI for any kind of therapy. And I know people say, "Oh, but it's expensive." But the reality of it is that there are many organizations and many therapists who do offer access to therapy at reasonably affordable rates, including offering it for free. But that requires some amount of homework. The person who wants it needs to actually do a little bit of homework to find these resources. So it's not difficult to find either a therapist or find an organization which might be offering therapy, or even better still, talking to a friend, a colleague, a relative, or someone in your social circle.
Does time also play a factor? Is it a factor that the more you use this or the more immersed you become in this, the higher the risks?
Yes and no. I think you're asking a question for which I don't really have data to be able to say, oh, yes, that's possible. But yes, there's plausibility to the idea that if you are getting too engaged in it, then you're increasing your risk, because if you increase your exposure, you'll increase your risk. So that's a plausible thing. But I don't know whether that's a very specific answer that I can give to your question based on any data.
Tell us, Doctor, I'm just widening the scope of this a little. AI has been increasingly being spoken of as useful in medicine, useful in terms of diagnosis, useful in terms of what LLMs can help doctors do. Do you see any potential benefits to it in the mental health field?
Oh, of course, I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that AI has no potential benefits. But at the current state of the technology, all I'm saying is that AI as a frontline service provider is not something that we have good evidence for. In fact, that's been one of my real concerns that, if you introduced a new drug or if you introduced a new treatment for something, for any medical condition, then it has to go through a period of rigorous testing and trials, and only then it is licensed for use. Now, none of these AI chatbots have been through that process. None of them have been rigorously tested in trials, the side effects documented, the efficacy of it documented. So we don't know whether it'll work, and we also don't know what the risks are. And so, to release something like that into a population, and to hope that nothing will go wrong, is really, it's a vain hope, really. We don't do that for any of medicine, so why would we do it for mental health at all? But turning to your question about, is it helpful? Of course, it is helpful. There will be a lot of advantages to AI as the technology improves, and even what is there just now, as kind of aids to providing treatment. At present, probably that's about the best that AI can do, to act as an aid to a clinician who is offering the treatment or therapy. Maybe if the technology improves in some time, maybe we can be looking at a independent AI therapist. Uh, and there are also a lot of other regulatory and ethical issues that have not yet been resolved. Like if something goes wrong, then can you sue your AI therapist for harm? You can do with your mental health professional to whom you're going. And in the case of an AI therapist, who is then responsible? Is it the company that designed it, or somebody else? So, a lot of these, it's a regulatory and ethical minefield at the moment. And until we've not sorted out all of these issues, and had some kind of a proper regulatory process in place, I think using AI as a standalone therapy provider is just too risky. And that's why I think governments are beginning to act and saying, look, you can't be doing this, and AI providers can't be offering this at all, uh, at the current state of knowledge and information that we have.
Last question, Doctor. What would you say to young people who are increasingly beginning to rely on AI? And I don't mean just as a tool for mental health support, but in general, it has become, it is beginning to become so crucial to our everyday lives. Would you say that relying overly on it is also not a good thing, or are there any safeguards we need to keep in mind while using it?
Well, I mean, well, what is relying overly on it? That's a danger. My experience recently with AI as a recipient of this has been when you advertise jobs at our research unit, and then you get people writing SOPs which are written on AI, and you almost feel like saying that, oh well, everybody's SOP reads the same because it's AI generated, or getting emails these days which are AI generated, and trying to make sense of them. What I would say is that they are highly verbose and short on content. So just from a practical point of view, I think people need to stop relying on AI for even simple tasks which you would otherwise do yourself. There's a risk of de-skilling, for example. And secondly, there's a risk, like I said, about the SOPs that people write for job applications, that doing yourself harm in many ways, because people who are reading that on the other side can easily pick it up, especially if everyone's doing it. And you see AI generated notes or AI generated SOPs coming up. So I think it requires a certain degree of discretion that people need to use to say, okay, where can I use it, which will not really de-skill me, but will make my life easier, for example. But at the same time, recognizing that it's not ideal for every single task. So for example, if you've got a large number of papers, let's say, and you wanted to catalog them or summarize them, then maybe AI is a good way to do it. But is it the only way to do it? Of course not, but it might just save you time doing that. Or if you got a document which you want translated into a particular language, then clearly AI can play a reasonable role and the risks are lower. So I think for each task, I think the question really to be asking ourselves is, what are the potential costs, and what are the potential benefits, and what are the potential risks? And for some tasks, the benefits will be very high, the costs will be low, and the risks will be negligible. And then for other tasks, while the benefits may be high, you might have very high level of risks and very high level of cost, for example, in which case probably you don't want to be using it.
Thank you so much for speaking to us today, Dr. Pathare.
Thank you.
In Focus will be back soon with analysis of the biggest news issues. In the meantime, you can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and other platforms. Just search for In Focus by The Hindu. We'll see you soon.